This is one of those life-changing moments. We were caught in April 2015 in the very large earthquake in Nepal.
Earthquake between Nepal and China.
So we were actually crossing the border at that exact moment. And long story short, we were stuck with the Chinese army for 5 days, had to hike out 6 hours because they couldn't clear the road to get to us. We had to wait another 20 days to get our car fixed and back on the road. And literally, I think the hardest part is we didn't go through one earthquake. We had 120 aftershocks. And where we were positioned in the mountain, literally we had boulders the size of cars falling down around us for those 5 or 6 days.
So to be more precise, when the first earthquake struck, Rochelle was in China, I was in Nepal, and the car was in a bridge between the two countries. We had to sneak the car into China because of the earthquake. You know, everything fell apart, so we just had to just drive through. Thank God we were on the Chinese side and not on the Nepalese. They had much more damages in the Nepal side,
and I believe the Nepalese side, that border crossing is still closed to this day because they'll never be able to clear it and the debris. The other thing we had to do was every day we had to line up and say Rochelle from Australia, Yianni from Greece, and they fed us meals twice a day. But the Chinese army are amazing. They were able to manage, obviously, the whole situation. And even when we got escorted out after 5 days, we had to go 12 hours away to actually find the first available camp. And they had a camp that we stayed in overnight that had 7,000 tents. So, thankfully, the Chinese army saved our lives.
So back in 2017, one of our most adventurous sections of our journey was transiting across the centre of the Amazon jungle on what's known as the BR319, which is the mud road that goes right across the middle of the Amazon from Manaus to Portobello. And we did it right at the end of the rainy season. So it was pretty waterlogged. We were fairly confident about the capability of our truck, but we didn't really know what to expect and how bad it was going to be. So as you can see from the pictures, starts off as a mud road, but pretty clear and easy drive, and then it just deteriorates into some seriously muddy sections. And the pictures show that we came across other vehicles that were stuck, and we had to do some pretty serious deep mud recovery, and most of it was done by Marcus getting out there in his wellies.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Cuthbert handled it no problem at all. We really didn't have a problem with the mud, but it was other people with sort of less capable vehicles that were basically blocking the trail. The big truck you see there was about 12 tons, and that at one point took 6 hours to get it through one section of mud. We could tow to an extent, we could use a bit of winching, but a lot of it was just digging and hard graft really. Luckily they had a few passengers on board, so they helped out. The cars were simple because they're just light and easy. You can drag those through pretty much anything with Cuthbert, but the truck was certainly a challenge, and it was quite entertaining.
I think all in all it was about a 3-day drive. It's about 800 kilometres of mud road across the middle of the Amazon, so it was an adventurous few days. But with hindsight, that's what overlanding's all about, getting out there and seeing what you find. And, it was probably one of our favourite sections of our South America overlanding.
Yeah, it was good fun. Bit of an adventure.
Next one would be the crossing of the Atlantic with a boat, the Ro-Ro boat. I think most of the overlanders that they cross to America as a continent, South America, most of them, they start with that service. So it leaves Antwerp in Belgium and it heads to Uruguay or Brazil or whatever you want to get off. It's 1 month.
We literally, it took Yianni 3 months to talk me into doing it, because a month on a cargo ship with 2,000 cars and 500 containers is not exactly something I was really looking forward to. Plus I was really nervous about the ocean travel. However, we had an absolute ball. It was so much fun. 1 month, great people, great crew, Christmas and New Year on a cargo ship. No wonder it took them 3 months to get me there. But Christmas was amazing, very family orientated with the people and the crew we were with. And New
We
Year's was a
were
great
7
party.
campers altogether?
Yeah, seven campers altogether.
7 campers altogether.
But it was a really big journey for a whole month to be on this boat. But it was really about travelling, the people and the crew and the festivities. And
We had a party for almost 2 weeks, constant.
It was just a lot of fun. So something we weren't looking forward to and was a bit nervous about. The other thing was the 6 days, the actual crossing of the ocean where you don't
6 or
see
10,
land.
10 days, I think.
6 or 10
6,
days, no.
yeah.
It was like glass. I literally would get up in the mornings and go out to the deck, and it was like us being on a lake. It was so flat and so calm, and that's where I was worried about being, on rough seas. But it was a really enjoyable trip.
I was on the way to South America. On the way back, Rochelle had to fly home, so I took the same service boat on the way back. The way back wasn't that nice. I was the only passenger on the boat, so I was basically by myself. We were not allowed to drink because of the captain's orders. But still, the sea was calm, enjoyable, a memory to add to the overlanding memories that we have.
Thanks, Grimaldi.
Ladies and gentlemen, Overland Diaries is official at seas. We are heading home. See you soon.
In 2014, we were camping next to a fairly dry lake in northern Tanzania, where there were quite a large population of hippos, and it led for a rather interesting discovery in the morning.
Well, yeah, what happened was we were parked up and sleeping in the night, and then early hours of the morning we heard a really awful screeching noise. And we thought we knew what hippos sounded like. We'd heard them grunting all night, but this was a different noise. So we waited for the sun to come up and went outside and went for a little walk down the riverbank and bumped into a local who pointed out a mother with a baby hippo on the bank on the other side of the river. But she was nudging it with her nose and it didn't appear to be moving. And it was really sad at the time, wasn't it? She appeared to have had a stillbirth. Yeah. And then we stood and watched, and the local guy was with us. And
there's a large monitor lizard as well, which was looked like it was going to try and eat the baby. Although it was a fairly sizable monitor lizard, I don't think it would have really had much luck with a hippo.
And then suddenly the mother was just nudging the baby with her nose, and the baby just got up and walked slowly with the mother down to the river, as you can see from the pictures, and she just let it down to the water. And it was just one of the most amazing natural experiences, wasn't it, of the wild world. We weren't in a safari park or anything like that. It was just parked up by a random river in Tanzania. It was just one of the most amazing experiences that we had in Africa.
We actually crossed the Amazon twice because of the route that we had taken. So we crossed from Santarém to Manaus, and then around the Guianas, and then back to Belém. But we have it as one memory, and it was an amazing memory.
So it kind of challenged all of our senses. We were a little bit unknown. You're crossing one of the most amazing parts of the planet, and
the most remote as well.
Yeah, it was great four-wheel drives, great barge trips. Literally, I think that's my most memorable, is sitting on the front end of a barge that has no safety barriers. You can just literally reach out and touch the water. We were throwing food and clothing to the
Indians, coming out with their canoes,
which was just astonishing to see them, little kayaks and babies in the canoes, little dugout wood canoes. It was just raw, real, and really luxurious, because we're literally sitting out on the front of this barge, beautiful water.
We camped on the barge.
On the barge We
We opened our
prepped meals there. We had great salads, sitting on a barge, having a glass of wine.
Made friends with all the truck drivers that they were on the same barge.
Yeah.
We were the show on the other boat that we took. We were the show because they've never seen a rooftop tent before. So, a boat full of Brazilians. Everybody wanted to have a chat. It's really nice. Really nice. It's one of the memorable experiences. Yeah.
It was about luxury for us because it was just so unique and so raw, and we were sitting there in our own little home as we sit here now, and just have all the comforts and be in this most amazing place. It was so memorable.
So back in January 2017, we really wanted to watch a stage of the Dakar rally as it was passing through the Altiplano in Bolivia. But the authorities weren't putting out a lot of information about where to see it. They were holding it quite secret. So we had to try and make contact with a lot of locals and drive around the Altiplano in the approximate area. And it took us several days of going to attempted routes. You can see in the first picture there, we're parked up with a load of locals in anticipation of the rally coming past and seeing all the vehicles. And it never came. And this happened 3 or 4 times. We went to different places, a load of locals there. In the end, we eventually got lucky and managed to meet up on a stage route with Lyndon Poskett, who was one of the British motorcyclists in the race, and also with Sam Sunderland, who I think won it that year, who also a British motorcyclist. And we managed to get some tips as to where the next route was going, and so we went out onto another section of the Altiplano. In January, it's pretty cold up there, but you know, it was a great experience traipsing around with all the locals looking for the rally. And as you can see from the pictures, we eventually found it. The vehicles would come blasting past through the mud. No health and safety out there. It was pretty rough, wasn't it, really? Rough and ready.
Yeah, it was quite good fun. You had to be a little bit sensible where you were and kind of consider the fact that the vehicles might go out of control and come off the track. Certainly some of the large trucks didn't really give too much of a care about the side of the trail. If they had enough speed up, they would just come around the corner sideways and just bounce over anything that was in the way. Startled a few of the locals that were trying to get selfies, but yeah, it was good fun.
And I think with overlanding, when you've got your home with you, you can just go out there into the wilds and park up anywhere you want. And one of the most amazing things, you know, if you'd flown out there and just had a car, you'd never have found it. But we could just, you know, park up with our own home, have our bed wherever we found it, and, you know, watch the rally whenever we managed to sort of get on board.
Okay, now we're taking you to Africa. Specifically, we're taking you to Mauritania.
We are in Mauritania.
I had been there about 10 years before. Rochelle was her first time in Africa as well. The pictures are non-stop, amazing, crossing through our heads. The people we met there were all fantastic. We did mostly off-road routes because the main cities are nothing special. But yeah, the small villages were amazing.
And I have to say, when we got across the border and through the first town, which is called Nouakchott. Sorry, sometimes I have trouble pronouncing it. I was a little shocked. We camped in a place that Yianni had camped here before, which was just amazing to meet this man that he'd met 10 years ago, and the place had never changed. But when we walked out, I was kind of hit pretty hard by the poverty and the reality of the country. And I was kind of a little bit, why would you come here? Why do you go here? And I guess that's that first initial shock. But within a couple of days,
we were actually on the way to Chinguetti.
Yeah, I understood what the beauty of Africa is all about. It is the way people, it's about humanity. It's the way they live and the way they act and the way they are. And it really became one of the most beautiful spots I've been to.
Back in 2014, when we were driving across Botswana, we'd heard about Kubu Island, which is an outcrop of rocks and baobab trees in the middle of the Makadikadi mud pans in the sort of southern half of Botswana. And we'd heard that it's a very special and very beautiful place. It's a spiritual place of very spiritual significance for the indigenous people there. And we'd met several overlanders who'd been out there, but all had much lighter vehicles than us, like Land Rovers and similar sort of lower weight vehicles. So we were a bit nervous about going out across the mud pans to visit this place with our 6-ton truck. So
yeah, but we looked at the tracks and we deflated the tyres for our kind of usual sort of off-road sort of pressures, and we found that actually the ground, it was reasonably dry. It hadn't rained for a while, and so we were able to drive across the mud flat.
We edged out a bit gingerly though to start with.
A little bit careful to start with, just in case, but yeah, it was no problem in the end.
But when we got out there, it really was amazing. As you can see from the pictures, it's really beautiful. The baobab trees are just stunning. And we spent a very special three or 4 days out there, I guess. Yeah. You can wander around. There's a campsite that's been set up by the local indigenous people to, get some money for their local community. But it's highly recommended if you're in southern Africa. Definitely put Kubu Island on your list of places to see. When we were looking to start the South African leg of our overlanding round the world trip, we set off from Europe. We wanted to sail from Europe, and we worked out that the cheapest way for us to get there was to not only put our truck on a cargo ship, but to get a cabin on board a cargo ship and sail with Cuthbert, our truck, all the way from Hamburg in Germany to Montevideo in Uruguay. It ended up taking 5.5 weeks. And it was actually a really cool way to get there. It's not an entertainment ship. It's not like going on a cruise. There's no entertainment features. There's no cinemas or anything like that. It's just a handful of overlanders and the crew, and thousands and thousands of containers and thousands of vehicles. But on the plus side, you get to go into lots of ports, see how the maritime shipping world really works, make friends with the other overlanders.
Yeah, it was quite good fun making our own entertainment, and we also got to look around the ship as well. You can go down to the engine rooms and go up on the bridge and generally see how it all operates. And for people that like shipping and shipping containers, you want to see how they handle shipping containers in Africa. Yeah, it was good fun.
And I think for overlanders that have got plenty of time, yes, we didn't arrive on schedule. It was kind of estimated to take around 4 weeks, ended up taking 5.5 weeks. But as overlanders, time isn't that critical. If something takes a bit longer, that's the way it is. When we sailed over the equator, that was quite fun, wasn't it? They had a ritual of daubing us with some weird concoction sailing over the equator.
And as we came down the coast of Brazil, we had a load of humpback whales as well, which was great. They were coming and breaching alongside the ship, and you're up 12, 13 stories above the height of the sea, so you had a great view down on the whales. It was fantastic.
And also the arrival process is relatively easy. It can be quite stressful shipping your vehicle. We've done it previously on other occasions, on other shipping routes, where you send your vehicle separately, and you've then got to have agents to put you through the arrival process and arriving in a new country. When you drive off the cargo ship in your own overlanding truck, it's a so much simpler arrival procedure than it is doing it on the shore.
They actually asked us to drive it ourselves onto the ship and off of the ship, so there was no risk of them damaging the vehicle, loading and unloading. And then as we came off, it was almost like doing a cross-channel ferry. We just came off, parked up on the side of the quay, went into the customs office, filled in a few forms, signed a few bits of paper, and drove out the port. Couldn't have been easier.
And security on the ship was very good as well. There was no risk of theft from the vehicles on the ship. It was really tightly controlled. Yeah,
they moved the vehicles around on the within the decks depending upon which port we were going into, and then they caged off the rest of the ship. So when you went into an African port and they were offloading 1,000 cars, they had access to those 1,000 cars, but they didn't have access to the other decks with the other vehicles, and it was very, very well controlled.
So all in all, we'd say it was an experience to be recommended, at least once in your overlanding life.